go back. So they had to take the train back, which meant that the rest of the family, the kids, the oldest boy, at that time must have been 15, let me see if he was 16, I'm not quite sure at this. And then of course the rest, and they were in charge of the house. Well, they had cows, you know, about, I forget, 40 or so cows on there, which had to be milked. And of course no milking machines or anything.
Everything done by hand.
Everything done by hand, but by the same token, they also, you had to automatic, you know, the water had to be there, and the water was pumped with an electric or a gasoline engine.
It was.
That was allowed, of course, in the community. Well, it was an exceptionally cold winter, and things froze. When the pipes and that froze, and we didn't know it. We just knew how cold it was.
Yeah.
But we're there, my wife and I are sitting there in our house, in the farmhouse there, and I hear this knock on the door, which when it's 20 below zero or 30 below zero, at night you hear a knock on the door, you know somebody needs help bad.
Right.
So went to the door there, and here is Craig, and he's in his heavy clothes, and he had walked all the way from their farm to the house because he needed help, and he was coming to get my help, because his parents told him, if you have any problems, you go to Richard and he'll help you. And so I went back there, and we got the old pumps working again, so that the cows finally got some water.
Yeah.
And that was extremely important. Well, they never forget things like that.
I bet.
And so they knew that I cared about them as people. And so they cared about me as people. So there was no, from then on, it was just like I would go in there. So for almost 6 years I was part of this Amish family. And of course it grew. Other families began to accept me, and I had a lot of interesting little things, like the time when I went up, drove up my little Geo at that time, and drove up to the Geo to the Smith's place. And all the kids come running down, hey, can we blow the horn? You know, and all the things, and they reach in, and they love to blow the horn in the car and all this type of thing. And Susan, the mother, comes down. Well, the kids, before she comes walking down to the car, the kids are all saying, hey, Richard, you want to, what you've got to do is, what was his name now? I forget, the little boy, the youngest boy. You got to paint him. You got to paint him. Look at him. And I said, oh, I'd love to paint him. I'd love to. But you know how your mom feels about that. And so, yeah, but she won't know. And I says, sure. So she came down, and she says, what can I do for you, Richard? And I told her, I says, well, I need some stuff, some things. And she says, okay. And I said, but Susan, just answer this question now. What would you do, or what would you say if you heard that I had painted a picture of so-and-so? And she just looked at me and very politely says, I wouldn't want to hear about it. Now, I never figured out, was that permission? You know?
Or a warning.
Or a warning.
Or both.
Or both.
You do it, but just make sure I'm not implicated.
Well, her oldest boy, as he grew up, you know, when they get to be a certain age, they can choose. You know, what direction do you want to go? Do you want to take your baptism and become part of the community, or do you want to go out and become English? Well, the oldest boy, when he was getting to that age, he would come in, and this is back in about 1998 or something like that. But anyway, he comes into, and I was living at that time in an apartment. That's another long story, but I'm in the apartment, and he's coming up there, and he knocks on the door, and he comes in. He says, "Yeah, got any Wild West videos?" And I said, "Well, yeah, you probably do." So he says, "Can we sit down and watch one?"
Like the old cowboys and westerns?
Yeah, so we'd watch one like that. And then, a week or so later, he comes back and comes in and watches, brings it home and
Yes.
brings one in from the library. One day I'm walking down the street and here the kids are coming. Here's Susan's coming, and Susan, beautiful black habit and all, the bonnet and all that stuff. And she says, "Richard, can I talk to you a minute?" And I said, "Sure." And of course, the older boy's out there, and she's just a younger kid, and she's saying to me, she says, "I understand that my boy is coming up and watching videos."
Mm.
I said, "Yes, he is." She says, "Well, I don't want that to happen." So I said, okay, I'll stop." She says, "Do you want me to tell him so that he won't feel bad?"
You don't have to break all the bad news, huh?
And I said, "No, Susan, I can handle it."
Yeah.
She said, "Okay." So, knock on the door one day, and he's there, and he says, "Do you have any videos? Can we watch anything?" And I said, "Darn, you won't believe it. That tape thing broke down. I'm not going to fix it. So we're just going to have to sit and talk, okay?" "Okay." And so we just sat and talked. It didn't mean that much.
Discretion's the better part of valor.
So you might say I retreated, but it was in the right direction.
Well, you were discreet nonetheless, and didn't have to make
No.
Mom look like the bad one there.
No, I didn't want to make him feel that way.
And
about Susan.
it's a fascinating thing when you talk about their culture and the relationship to image making and imagery and movies, and here we are doing these things with such a sense of carefree, devil may care. But there are individuals, obviously, because of their spiritual beliefs, that reflect on this image making and its connection to the notion of the soul in ways that are alien to many people. And why don't you talk just a little bit about that idea of the painting and why the making of the painting represents a threat? Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I can't tell you any psychological or scientific